In a recent survey that we did, we had a survey to ask what was actually troubling you about starting on your journey to do the science of getting rich and to actually get things happening in your life. Now, I've never said it's easy, but the thing is there are certain things that you can do to help yourself. And one of the main things is that people tend, they'll read a book and they'll watch a DVD or a movie and they'll listen to a speaker. And every one of those things will actually give you a little bit of motivation. Okay? Unfortunately, for a lot of us, that's where it stays. We do it, we've got all good intentions, but the thing is that you've got to actually put all this into action. And I say this an awful lot. And the thing is, at the end of the day, this is the start to it all. Okay? Action. It's as simple as that. So the first thing, get your idea, get your goal, and take steps towards it with the action. Because if you just leave it in your head with all those ideas, nothing will happen and nothing's going to change. So that's the first tip. Okay? This is tip number 2. Tip number 2 is manage your time properly, okay? Now, what happens when we get stressed, what we try and do is we've got all these things to do, they're all jobs, okay? And when we're stressed, we go like that, and we end up doing nothing. We feel that we've been so busy, but we end up doing nothing. Now, if you look at the same scenario where you just relax and you go, job number 1, done. Job number 2, done. Job number 3, done. End of day, end of the day. But look, you've done 3 jobs, quite clear. Over here, you're still in a terrible, terrible mess. So the secret is when you're all stressed and you run about, sit down, take time out and just give it some thought. Plan your day, put things into boxes, into little sections and do one. But we all do the same thing. We get stressed and we start, oh, I've got to get this done, I've got to get that done. And we end up becoming what we call a busy fool. Don't become a busy fool. Put your things into separate little boxes, do one at a time, get them done, and you'll find that you'll feel an awful lot better and you'll end up at the end of the day feeling very proud of yourself, okay? Tip number 3. Wallace Wattles talks about filling your space, or more than filling your space. Now, what does that mean? Okay, now most of us, we've got a job. Okay? Now, this is what most of us do when we've got a job. We try and get away with doing that much. Okay? So we become a situation where we don't really sort of create any impression at all. Now, if you more than fill your space, okay, you fill all this with what you're doing more than what's expected of you. Now, the reason you want to more than fill your space is because you want to move on. Okay, now, if you more than fill your space, the person that employs you has got to notice that you really want to move on. And he's got to take notice and he's going to have to either give you a better position within the company or someone else down here, the boss up the road, let's give him a nice big smile, couple of big ears and plenty of hair, but the boss down the road, he sees you and he goes, I want that person because you have more than filled your space. Okay, now there's one little rider to this. If you just fill your space and you don't sort of try and burst out the edges of the job and really put yourself about, if you fit exactly into the job, nothing will happen. Because you are the perfect employee. okay? Because you're doing the job and you're not trying to move anywhere, you're doing everything that's expected of you, but you're not showing any signs of wanting to move forward or to advance, so you're perfect. So if you're just doing your job absolutely exactly as it should be, you stay there. If you don't do it as it should be, you've got the chance of getting slingers. But if you more than fill your space, there is no way known that you can actually stick within that job. You'll either get advanced within the company or someone else will notice what you're doing. So that's the third thing, that you can do to get yourself moving. If you're in a job and you want to sort of get advance forward, more than fill your space. There's your best friend or your worst enemy, habits. Anything you do as a habit, you do, that's the brain. If you know me at all, you know that's the picture of the brain. Everything that you do that is a habit is done on autopilot, okay? You get up in the morning and you can be driving to work and you think back, you can't even remember cleaning your teeth, you can't remember dressing, you can't remember combing your hair, but you're doing it. It's all habit. You've done it on autopilot. And that is the way that anything that you want to be successful with, you want to make it a habit. Now, what happens is that habits aren't formed through one instance. They are formed through repeating them all the time. So if you can form good habits by repeating them all the time, you also create bad habits because you keep doing them all the time. But you can actually turn your bad habits into good habits if you just do them all the time. Most of the stuff that you've learned and most of the stuff that you've got in your subconscious has come to you from various people and various events that have been done, not once off, but repeatedly, where you've been told, you can't do that, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. And over the period of time, so all of a sudden it becomes a fact. You believe that, you believe that, you believe that, you believe that, you believe that. But the minute that you go into your subconscious, and you start saying, I don't believe that, I can do that. I can do this, I can do that. It's like the little train. Do you remember the story of the little train? I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. And when it got to the top of the hill, it says, I know I can, I know I can, I know I can. All it is it's a change in your mind. Once the little red train or little blue train, whichever one you listen to, once he went from saying, I can't do it to I can do it, everything changed. It was all downhill and everything was lovely. So to create habits, all you've got to do is constantly affirm to yourself that you can do something, but don't just do it once. It's like when you go out, you start a diet and you do it with all good intentions, and 2 or 3 days later, you talk yourself out of it. But if you talk yourself into it, you lose the bit of weight, you become fit, anything that you want to do, providing that you put it in there and you do it consistently and persistently, things will change. Number 4, habits. Make sure that you create good habits just by being constant with the information. Tip number 4, create good habits the same way you create bad habits. Tip number 5, and this is a doozy. Okay, making decisions, all right? Now this goes for whether it's something that you desperately want or something that you're doing or about to do. There's 2 times when you must never make a decision. That's when you're euphoric, or a lot of us call that happy, or very happy, or overly happy, okay, or stressed. In both those situations, you'll make a mistake, because if you look at something and you go, oh, I must have that, it's beautiful, okay, it will be the wrong decision. In the cold light of day, sit back, relax, think about it. Do I really want it? Then go back and do it. This one, stressed. You can never, ever, ever make a good decision when you're stressed. It is totally impossible. The biggest mistakes I've made in my life were done when I was stressed. In situations that cost me thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars because I didn't stand back and look at things logically. There was a time when I was involved with some property and we owed money here, there and everywhere, and we had a property that we owned and we sold it to clear all the debt because I was so stressed I didn't want any debt. But the thing is that I could have financed the property and paid all the other things off and kept it, but I made the decision to sell it. That today is one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made in my life because I didn't stand back. I said, oh, no, you can't help me. There's times when people could have knocked on my door and said, I've got a brand new Ferrari for sale for $50. And I'd have gone, don't bother me with things like that. I can't make any decisions. So you miss all the good things. So, number one, when you're euphoric and you say, I must have something, relax, stand back and make sure if you do. Number two, if you're stressed, and you're really, really stressed, go and ask someone else. Get their opinion. Don't ever make a decision when you're euphoric or you're stressed. Very, very, very good information. Tip number 5. I've often said this and people laugh at me. I'd say to people, you know your trouble? They say, why can't I get hold of any money? You know why? Because they're too busy working to get hold of any money. They're not standing back and thinking about it. And this is how it works. You've got a business and let's just say that your business is bobcats. You drive a bobcat, okay? So you drive your bobcat and at the end of the day, what do you have to do? You have to go out and quote. Now, I would imagine that the last thing that you'd want to do when you were a bobcat driver would be to go out and start quoting jobs in the evening, okay? So, let's just look at this. Let's say that you stopped driving the bobcat and you went out and you just went out quoting for jobs all the time. Nice and relaxed, just went round there, didn't have to do it after you'd been to work. You go round there and you go and quote the jobs, all right? So, you'll end up with a big pile of jobs. Okay, but you don't want to do the work, so what you do is you contact all the other bobcat drivers that have knocked their brains out bouncing their head about in the bobcat through the day, and you ring them up and you say, listen, I've got plenty of work, if you want any, call me. All of a sudden, all you're doing is driving around in your lovely car quoting for the jobs while they're knocking their brains out in the bobcat, and you just giving them the jobs and you take a commission. So what you're doing is you're becoming an agency. You're giving yourself time to go and do things right. Okay? So a lot of people are too busy working to get hold of any money. So stand back and look and see if there's a situation where you could do something like this, which will then leverage your ability to earn money. Okay? Tip number 6. Now, most of you know my story. I've made these teachings work for me, and they've just given me such a great lifestyle, and that's why I want to give something back. And I want to be here and I want to help people. But the biggest problem that I have is people won't help themselves. They're looking for ways and why this is happening and why that's happening. Just relax and allow things to happen. And I've never said it was easy. Some of the hardest things you've got to do is to sort of just take a lot of this stuff on faith, as Wallace says in the book. Look, he's cut it all down, taken all the crap away so that you can just do it. But he said don't bother about finding out, and all the time we're hearing people saying, well, how does this happen? How does that happen? Why? What? Where? It's, who cares? It works. It works. And if you do it properly, I've never said it was easy. I've never ever said it was easy, but it can happen. And I'm prepared to help you all. If you just get stuck in, ask me the questions. You can all get hold of me. You can go on the forums, or you can contact me via the website. Ask me any questions you like. I just want to spread this message as much as I can because I know how powerful it is. But the first thing to do is just relax. Don't keep looking for reasons why things happen. Just accept that they do, and things will happen for you. Okay? So I hope those few little tips that I've given you will help a little bit. They'll just sort of whet your appetite, and then we'll get stuck into the book. We've got a new course coming out soon, and there's going to be video, and there's going to be me and my wife talking, going through the things that happened to us when we did the course, which I believe is going to help you all. And let's all do it together. Let's all, as a community, all help each other, and let's make sure that this happens, because this is powerful, powerful stuff. And once you get it working, and once you get those results, you'll find it will just get better and better and better. Okay? Look forward to seeing you on the forums or whatever. But just to start, get the action going like we talked about in number 1, and you're going to be on the ride of your life. See you soon.